Okay, we have Jenny in there. She's usually I will be in the kitchen making dessert, but today since I'm talking, so Jenny is kind enough to take care of that department. Yeah, I'm made in China. Yeah, but not very poor quality or counterfeit or imitation. But because I'm made in China, I was growing up without much nutrition. So in that sense, very poor quality in the health sector on my body. But anyways, not recently, I heard a lot of people praise China. Who has been watching the Olympics? Stop. We're boycotting. we boycott Olympic. The other day, Ken forgot he watched it. I said, turn it off. We're not watching, and because there's so many issues, human rights issues, and all other things. Yeah, we're boycotting the Olympic. In July, I was in South Dakota and debating the famous George Gilder. Have you heard about George Gilder? He's the author about Beyond Google, the bestseller, and he's very famous economist. And he just praised China. So much so, they got me to debate him. And he's not the only one praise China, because when you travel to China, how many of you have been to China? And you see all these high-rises and impressive freeways and high-speed rails, and you thought, oh wow, very impressive. It's like better than New York and Paris or London. But how they came to that, that's what I'm going to talk about. Because when you look at that, you say, wow, it's so orderly and so fast development and high GDP. Even 2020, it still have 6%, compared to United States or Germany or France or England, Japan, negative GDP or 1 or 2%. China's great. Today, I want you to think from a different perspective. China, since 1949, China has been planned economy, the whole economy, until today, still planned economy. Many of you took Ken's class. You know the difference between planned economy and market economy. Planned economy is somebody out there and decide what to do and dictate and telling everybody what to do. And that's the planned economy. Market economy is generated and moved by the market. There's an invisible hand. You all heard about that. And there's entrepreneurs moving the economy, not by design or by somebody dictate you. So since 1949, China had the extreme planned economy. They nationalized all the private properties, land, housing, businesses, everything. They nationalize it because they want to provide equality to everybody. Because it's not fair. Somebody has a lot of money and somebody has no money. That's not fair. So we all should have the same income, same lifestyle. How the communists achieve that goal? By taking it from the people who produce, who are entrepreneurs, who are capitalists, owners of businesses and properties, taking it from them and redistribute to the people. And they thought that would create equality. But they forgot, if you take away from the people who produce, they will lose incentive to produce. And they lose their businesses because it's nationalized. So very soon, there's nobody producing anymore. And at the beginning, they convince people to give up their businesses, like department stores and banks and factories. Then some people did it, but most people didn't because they worked so hard to get where they were. So they said no, especially small business people. They say no, we don't want to give away. So by force, they will put the business owners in prison and just forcefully took their businesses. My family happened to be the top 1% in 100 years ago. So we experienced that. Everything in our family was taken away. And many of our relatives was put in prison if they didn't left China to Hong Kong or United States or somewhere else. Like my parents and my grandparents, they didn't leave. They kind of believed communism, what they said, we're going to be respectful, we're going to be nice, yeah. Just like Taliban today in Afghanistan, they say, oh, don't leave. We're different. We're going to treat you nicely. You stay here and contribute to our new society. I tell all my Afghani friends, don't believe that because I lived through that. And don't believe a word of it. Get out as soon as you can by any means. But unfortunately, some of my friends left and some still stuck in there. We're still trying to help them get out because it sounds so familiar. And since August till now, Taliban didn't change. They're doing the same evil, horrible things, just like the communist China. So then they decide, in other words, you might think it's familiar, essential. Last 2 years, the government told us what is essential business, what's essential for your life. In China, after they nationalized everything, they said, we will decide what is essential for your life. So you can have one pair of shoes and one jacket, one shirt, that's essential, nothing else, no more. Lipstick, makeup, that's not essential. No one allowed to have it and no one allowed to produce it or sell it. So the government determined every single items in your life, what is essential, and they are going to produce and provide to you in the store what is non-essential. Then they eliminate all these things. And one style of shoes, of course, one color of clothes, one style, and nobody allowed to be pretty artificially, putting makeup on, having hair different style, longer, shorter, because that's not fair. If you're prettier than the other person, it's not fair. You're not allowed to. I knew people were put in prison because she didn't have much hair, so she used a wig. Go to prison because you are doing something to beautify yourself. That's not right. So when they determine what's essential and they make it, and under the central command, and then they put it in the store. So stores has almost nothing there, and just a few essential products. And then they couldn't make enough, so they started rationing it. Every family get a ticket for everything you need in your life: sugar, salt, matches, women's sanitary napkins, haircut, bath, of course, all kind of food, meat, soy sauce, rice, potatoes, and corn, every single thing. They spend a lot of money and energy making those little coupons. I have some. And then they determine how much each person need to eat. If you're a boy, they will say a boy will eat more than a girl. So the boy will get 20 pounds food a month, and girl will get 10 or 15. All determined, and by age. The kids get less, and the grown-up get more. When you get old, you get less. You live in the south of Yangtze River, you get rice. You live north of Yangtze River, you get wheat and corn. We live in the near Beijing. It's north of Yangtze River. We get wheat and corn. But my parents, their family are from Shanghai, which is south of Yangtze River. They don't like noodles and bread. They like rice. Too bad. You can't. So to that degree, everything was controlled and determined by the central government. And then during the Cultural Revolution, our family was exiled to the south of China, near Vietnamese border, in a very, very remote, very primitive village with no electricity, no running water, and almost nothing. But then that's when I taste the fruit of the real central plan economy. And the area we lived is hilly mountain, and then we'll grow some fruit trees like lychee and longan and tobacco. But those are cash crops. We're not allowed to have cash crops. So the central government from several thousand miles away in Beijing told us, the villagers, you have to grow rice. Because you are south of Yangtze River, you have to grow rice. The north of Yangtze River, you grow wheat and corn. But there's no water. The soil is not suitable for rice, and there's no fertilizer. So and also they're not only telling the farmers what to plant, they also tell them how much they're supposed to yield at the harvest.
Oh.
And so there's no way any peasant farmer can produce that much rice. And they just said, okay, maybe we don't plant enough. One cropping is not enough. We do 2 croppings per year. And still we won't meet the quota. And they were doing 3 croppings a year. And the soil was just refused to produce because the condition of the soil just ruined. And the soil became really hard. And they said, oh, maybe we don't have enough land, tillable land. Let's make terraces. Let's break the mountains. The mountain originally had a lot of bamboos and a lot of herbs and a lot of trees. And we just went out there to destroy all the things already in the mountain and make terraces. And where do you get water? Rice needs water to grow, so we carry the water from miles away from the river on our back to walk up to the mountain, to dump into the terrace, and the water disappeared right away. You know, I knew some of you probably have seen those beautiful pictures of Indonesia and China with the beautiful terraces. You know, as a sightseeing, to me, that just horrifying, because that's labor, and also no machines or tractor. We didn't have tractors. Even if you have tractors, you can't get to the terraces. All the labor go there. So destroy the mountains, destroy the rivers, destroy the land. Everybody's starving just because the central government decided they need to plan the economy and plan everybody's life. And we were so poor. Every year, the farmers turn in every single thing they produced to the government. The government said, you didn't meet the quota, you owe us this much food. And the farmers said, we need to eat. The government said, okay, you can borrow some food from the government. And the food they borrowed only enough for them to eat one meal a year of cooked solid rice, like I did today. One meal a year, not one meal a day. One meal a year, Chinese New Year. The rest of the year, just soup with a little bit of rice, mainly just water. You just drink until you're full. They are farmers. They're producing. They're working so much every day. I was part of it. We were working there every single day. So I thought, what's wrong? Why? Then someone said, oh, because the government told us what to do. Then later on, I heard a word called plant economy. I said, oh, that's what that was, plant economy. And fast forward to at the end of 1970, early 1980s, China, Mao died, and China started called open and reform and open policy. And a lot of people call it China miracle. You hear that a lot in your textbook, in your economic class or whatever, media. I don't think it's miracle. There's no miracle. It's just because everybody was starving. The government didn't know what to do anymore. And there's one village. The chief of the village said, hi. The chief of the village told the peasants, I'm going to divide the land equally to every household in our village by numbers of people. Like you have 3, you get this much. You got 4 people, you get a little bigger. Anyways, they divided the land among the villages and told them, plant whatever you want to plant. Do whatever you want to do with the land. In one season, everybody had enough to eat and more to exchange. That not only enabled people to walk out of the poverty, also created market economy, because not everybody planned the same thing. Because somebody got the land on the hill, somebody got next to the river. So they plant different things. Or some just had the ducks, or some had the pigs, and they started to exchange. You have this in your economic class, so you know that. And so not only people walk out of poverty, also they started a market economy among them. And the villagers around that village saw that, say, we want that, we want that. But some village chiefs said, no, the central government didn't give me permission to do that. I won't, even though they're so successful that they are no longer hungry, but we cannot do that because the party principle is more important than your food and your stomach and your life. And some other village chiefs said, go ahead. I'm so tired of being hungry and poor. Just go ahead. So it started ripple effect. And the central government learned about that and said, okay, go ahead. That's so-called China miracle. It's no miracle. They just let go of the control and regulations. And then they say, but we cannot let go of the total control because we're communists. We can't give you all the freedom. So we will still control. We let you, like the leash with the dog, just let go a little bit longer. The dog can go a little bit longer, like 2 feet, but still I'm holding the leash. That's until today. And today, but China started to develop. People say, then how come China developed so fast and 12% of GDP growth per year? Well, China started at a very low point. And also, at that time, when China started to change in the countryside, the central government decided, okay, we want to, they opened up to the world and foreigners start to come in, and Chinese people thought, wow, there's music sound like this. You know, the music from Taiwan, from Hong Kong just start coming in. They said, wow, you can sing about love? You can sing about all these things, romantic songs? They were shocked. And they said, oh, there's stockings for the girls to wear. I remember, so popular. And then sunglasses, you can wear glasses just for, you know, nice looking, not necessity. You know, sunglasses was so popular at the black market, and the lady stockings and lipstick, those things, Chinese people have never seen it. And so the government cannot stop that because those things just keep coming in. I remember my professor from Japan, one day we were doing something, she pulled up a plastic bag, you put the grocery, like grocery store. She had a roll of that. She said, oh, just when we went shopping or something, oh, just put in there. Wow, plastic bag. You know, you can put things in there, you know. So everything was amazing for us. Think about that's 1980s, and people went to the moon already. You know, the world is, for us, I saw a plastic bag. I was so amazed. And so the government catch the wave, say, okay, we need to develop. And they started a trade with Japan and first, and the US and other countries. And so they say, okay, we need to plan the economy first, essential sectors. So the first, when they first started to develop, they decided infrastructure is most important, and mining, and heavy machineries, and automobile. That's the four areas, and government pour all the energy and money into it. I was working for the Department of Transportation in Beijing, and very elite office called the Public Road Research Institute. Only people with connection can get there. I don't know how I got there, but I got there without any connection. So my first project was to build the first freeway of China. And that leads to allowing foreign investment to come in. But again, it's not free market style. It's whoever can bring the technology and money to meet the central government designated industry allowed to come in. So the first freeway of China, the materials are from Germany. The infrastructures, like a toll booth and the speed light and the railings, and all these from Japan. So I was the interpreter at this institute. So I translated all these documents from Japan, how to set up the toll booth and this and that. So because China had no freeway before, so I invented all these turns, because there's no turns there, you know, off ramp, on ramp, road shoulders, and whatever. I just made it up. So, because it's one of the government designated area of development, so we got all the green lights. The reason for that was the container ship came to China, to the port, and they couldn't get unload because the harbor is not equipped to unload containers. Chinese people have never seen containers. So the foreign ship came with the containers. They somehow bring one at a time and open up and take the inside and get a little truck to drive to different places. So all these containers will be waiting on the sea up to 6 months. So they said, okay, the first freeway have to be from the dock to leave and distribute it to all over China. So I remember we said, okay, maybe better to just have a truck can hold to drag the container away, not to wait to open the container and take every little thing. So, but we don't have that kind of truck. And that time, importing automobile is not not within government plan. So we're looking into the existing Chinese truck makers. And I remember visiting this factory and tell them you have to design the truck to hold this, but they never designed a truck only with the engine part. Their truck is like a pickup, right? The Chinese style. They said, okay, we have to design something then without the back. Wow. But all the Chinese bridges are not high enough because we only build one segment of the freeway. Then when you distribute to other roads, and the container truck is too high for the bridges. What are we going to do? So we'll say, okay, let's make the wheel smaller, so the truck, the body of the truck will be lower. Okay, let's do that. But then the containers are very heavy. Our engines are not strong enough. What are we going to do? Okay, one engineer, very smart. Let's put the little hood on top of the container. Actually, after I came to this country, I saw all the truck had that little hood to ride with the wind. So they increase the speed, right? So smaller wheel, and also we said, also this thing you can move. You put containers on, and you can unload, take the container off, and that thing can be used again. So all these primitive ways of thinking, they didn't know. And in this country or anywhere else in the world, they all just common things. And I remember it was fun for me, only because the government say our sector is the most important, and so we got all the green lights. We can be creative, innovative, and things like that. So, anyways, after that, and the central government came out with 4 modernization. Chinese people like numbers, 4 infrastructure, and then 4 modernizations. If you search that, you will see that 4 modernizations: modernize this, modernize that, and it's too many details. So I will fast forward to later on. Housing became one of the major focus of the government. So remember, if your sector is a major focus of the government, you get all the financial resources and all the green lights. So the Chinese GDP, 25% of Chinese GDP is in housing development. 25%. And everybody rushed to build houses. The government owns the land. Nobody owns the land in China. So you get lease. The longest is 78 years, I think. The shortest is 49, 48 years. So it's not very long. It's within a person's lifetime. You don't own your house. You don't own anything. So government makes so much money giving permissions for businesses to develop on their land. That's how Chinese government became super rich. Because these permissions, 1/3 of it is bribery. So if you're a developer, you have to spend 1/3 of your budget to bribe the government in order to get a permission. The prime land, I know Hawaii, similar thing. Yeah. So everybody rushing to build houses. And so the price went up because they spent so much to just bribing and get the permission for the land. Then on top of that, they have to spend on the constructions and everything. So the price artificially became higher and higher because the government's bribe, the price tag is getting higher and higher. So the housing became very expensive. Most people who need houses couldn't afford. And so there's a lot of insiders trade. So just long story short, today 20% of Chinese housing are ghost, not occupied. 20%. Nobody lives there. There are ghost towns all over because the developer didn't care, because they got, when they develop, they sell it before they build to this real estate companies. So they make their money, they're gone. And these real estate companies sell it also before it's completed to their family and friends, because they knew after the completion of the construction, the price will go up when they really get into the market. So the real estate companies didn't lose any money. And the people who bought it, mostly that's their second or third investment home. They don't need it because they have the money to buy it in the first place. So they are not they're not too worried if they cannot sell. They just hold on to it because they know the government will not let the housing prices come down, otherwise will collapse the economy. So everybody who were in there already make their money. So they don't care ghost town. Some didn't have enough money then to finish and become just abandoned, half done. A lot of them in China, but mostly in Eastern Africa or Central Asia, because the Chinese One Belt One Road initiative did the same thing. Yeah, that's another topic. I'm not going to talk about it today, but
About time for Q&A soon.
Yeah, no, I have to finish.
Yeah.
Sorry. It's my home. So again, the foreign investment, they say, oh, a lot of China is open to foreign investment. The foreign investment only the sectors that China meet the Chinese goal of whatever at the time. For example, for a while they want to develop this subway systems in all cities. So Siemens, and we have a friend who worked for Siemens and from Germany. They got a lot of businesses. Also Daybreak too, and also some financial institutions. They came in. Chinese government want their technology, their computer system, their management system, their technology. So these companies came in. They under pressure, and they don't mind sharing that with China, but they share what they used, not they're going to use. So China, by stealing or by force, they got the technologies from the West, but they're old. And because they got it as it is, they don't know how to change to the next generation. There's no innovation, and they have no source to get the newer version. So Chinese technology is always somehow behind. They're trying to imitate. And that's about also some other foreign companies, for example, think tanks, NGOs, they were allowed to be in China for a very, very short time. Now it's all illegal, and they have to leave China. And if your investment was met the old objectives, you were allowed there, then they change to a different objective, then you're gone. So Chinese has a lot of entrepreneurs and very smart people, one of the highest educated population in the world. But there's no innovation because everything you think, you do, you have to get approval first. If your boss, the government didn't think it's right, or they're not smart enough to even understand, you can't do it. So that's why China can only copy, there's no innovation. Another thing is, every year this Chinese Communist, Xi Jinping now, he will give a speech. Everybody was paying so much attention to his speech because they want to see what he wants to build now. What's his economic objective now? A few years ago, I think now it's like 5-6 years ago, he said we need China to urbanization of China. So everybody rushing to destroy villages, to build cities. And how to build cities? I have a cousin who's a musician, very famous musician in China. He said, oh, I just got the government call me to ask me be their consultant because the government want to build a music city. I said, what do you mean by music city? A city like Honolulu, only designated for artists, studios, art galleries, and concert halls, and a ballet school, and theaters. I said, what? Who's going to live there? Oh, doesn't matter. We will build and we will get all the artists to move to here so they can create, they can do their art. I said, why should they want to, why? I don't think they want to be, it's so nice. Is there school for their children? No. Is there hospital for their family? No. Is there supermarket? Didn't think about that. They were so excited. Then he met my other cousin who's an architect. And they said, oh, why don't now I have this position from the government. Why don't you come join me? You're the architect. I will design the studio. I thought, oh my gosh, they're so excited. Then they get paid. They don't care who's going to live there, how they're going to live there, because in China we see all these abandoned new development because there's no infrastructure. They don't even have road. So people move there, and after 2 months they moved away. They can't even buy food. And another friend of mine was so excited and told me, we're going to build a medical city. I said, what's medical city? We have all the drugstores, Chinese herbal medicine, acupuncture, hospital, retirement homes. I said, who's going to live there? Oh, people need this. I said, oh, all the sick people go there to live? And I said, oh, this is weird because Xi Jinping, didn't you hear him? We're all trying to find what kind of city we can build. And they get unlimited resources, money. I said, well, when you build, nobody to live there, you waste your money. They said, doesn't matter because all within the family. That's his word. The money all within the family. We didn't let any foreigners to take our money. So wasting is okay. So that's what they're doing, and they have GDP. That's how they calculate their GDPs. And people, the other day, someone just told me, oh, they still have 6% GDP, 2020. They're doing something great. No, they're not doing something great. And the world imitate China by locking down, wear masks. Nobody asks, why is mask working? Is lockdown prevent the spread of COVID? No, China couldn't prove any success, any data, but the world just copied it. China's agenda, government's agenda for the pandemic is to control and prevent. But not controllable. You cannot prevent it. At least some of here, I feel like people start to learn to live with it. We cannot stop the pandemic. We learn how to live with it, make ourselves healthy, do this and that, eat this and that, and whoever want to do, wear masks, if we don't believe in masks, we don't. So a totally different approach. China, all they want to do is control. One time they found one person tested positive and went to the mall, and they closed the mall for a week. Everybody who was shopping in the mall couldn't leave. And they don't care. They have no place to sleep, nothing to eat. They couldn't get out. For a week, they were just in the mall. And all mall stores are closed. People are wandering in the mall. That's how Chinese style, So I have to cut it short. But also I want to touch one more thing is financial resources, because Chinese government owns all the banks. So they only give money to their designated projects, government projects. Private business entrepreneurs, if you want to start business, you get from family and friends. Or you go to the money shop. They have underground money shops. The interest is so high, and a lot of people went bankrupt, and because of they couldn't pay the interest. But that's the only way you can do something. So they control, and also they focus on they dump money, like the One Belt One Road initiative, all these new city buildings. They just dump it. And the people who plan the city, they made enough. They're happy. So who cares what's next? When in Shenyang, we visited a city called the high-tech city. All the things are built for high-tech. We only saw one company. We visited their data bank, kind of. It was a private business owned by these Christians, and they didn't have money to keep it going, so they borrowed some underground money, and then the interest rate was so high they couldn't pay back, and they went bankrupt within 2 years. It was very high tech, very good, but they couldn't get any support from the government, because the government only support building that city, not who's running business in there or doing businesses. Or some businesses became successful. Alibaba became successful on their own, and Huawei. Then the government came in, said, okay, give me more than 50% of the ownership and do what I tell you to do. And Alibaba, they don't care about the business. It's just as a platform for a small business to sell and buy things. But Huawei, they need it. So they made Huawei follow their agenda. Otherwise, you won't survive. You'll be imprisoned. So Huawei now became this dirty word in this country, the 5G, because it's not their fault, because the government forced them in order to survive. And they have thousands of employees to care about. They have their own lives, so they just say, okay, we'll do whatever you want us to do. So that's so-called the world's second economic power. I call it the paper tiger because it looks so big and fierce and strong, but it's a paper tiger. Paper, you put your finger and poke a hole. It's collapsed. The Chinese now, it's so in debt so much. Both government and private sectors. You all knew this development tycoon recently, Evergrande, that story. Collectively, the debt in China is 274% of its GDP. 274% of the GDP. today. So how strong is Chinese economy? No, it's not strong. I'm hoping it will collapse very soon. But the pandemic saved them. Really. If it wasn't for the pandemic, probably Xi Jinping's gone by now. Because the whole world imitate China, give Xi Jinping a lot of credit, a lot of room to breathe. And selling, making these, giving those countries their vaccine and a mask and things like that. Yeah, but it's still, because they're controlling all the Chinese outsourcing factories are closed, and they're not really producing much. Everybody was suffering. Then the government said, we're going to reintroduce those little coupons for food now. And they told the Chinese people, tighten your belt. Chinese have a saying, eat less, tighten your belt. So, but the outside don't know because they don't allow anybody, reporters, to go to China now. So I get the news from China and from the people living there. So, okay. I think my husband wants to have dessert now.
Well, actually, please take a few minutes to respond to questions, because maybe there's something that's in your mind that they'd like to ask you about the situation in now or past. Does anybody, if you got it, just maybe they're very hungry too.
Well, I have so many questions, and I don't know a lot. But I understand that, at least I thought that the U.S. is in great debt to China. And what's the reality of that in terms of the impact on the United States? My mind goes to that China is buying up property in the U.S. The debt is a lot to China, and then I only hear part of it, and we're in debt to other countries.
Okay, that's a question I don't have the whole answer. And the economists will say what's affect U.S. But the Chinese side, they first want that is they want to feel powerful over United States. Now they can no longer holding it. So they are trying to get rid of it because it's
Trying to get rid of what?
U.S. debt, and also when the exchange rate changes, affect China too, and so China is not joyfully holding the U.S. debt. It's just for their face. We you owe us so much, but U.S. seems like don't care, right? And so also China, they didn't really have a good, correct economic mind, so they were focused on export. The export-focused economy, like Japan long time ago, Hong Kong long time ago, and now they're suffering from that, especially right now if they can't sell things out. So they try to develop the domestic consumer market, but the price was so high, the inflation is so high, and people cannot really afford these things. They can sell to the foreigners. So that's one big issue in China. And they were holding a lot of US dollars as their national reserve. That's a mistake too. That's also, they thought it's a measurement of how strong you are for your economy. And that's their understanding. They brag about that. And now they regret because China is so short of cash. Just last week, the new policy came say any Chinese have to to have some kind of special permission and document to withdraw 50,000 RMB. 50,000 RMB is like a $4,000. It's not much. Oh no, $6,000 is. It's your own money in your bank account. You cannot take it out because Chinese banks are so short of cash. And 4 years ago, I have maybe $2,000 in Chinese bank account. They only allowed us to take $200, and we have to prove all the documents where we earned this money, how I'm going to spend it if when I get it. I say it's not your business. They say, well, sorry, you can't take your $200. We have to make appointment 3 days ahead of time, only from the bank branch. I opened my bank account. They have branches all over China, but I have to go only that branch in the city. Ken and I, we took the train there. We spent it 4 hours waiting. We didn't get a penny because that $200, I cannot prove where I got it and how has to be documented. I cannot just tell them. And yeah, so what could I do? I just illegally bought Bitcoin, money laundering, and got it out. Yeah, it was illegal to buy Bitcoin, of course. And buying Bitcoin to put into foreign wallet is money laundering. It's a prison term, but I did it. But it's my money. So I have a network, underground network, who are the crypto world in China. Yeah, very active still. Yeah.
Question. I think you need to write this article in our newspaper because I think half the US population, like those in all the rest of the world, don't know the ultimate fate of fiat currencies, which always resulted in social unrest and even warfare. Mahalo.
Yeah, thank you. Sean?
When I hear your story, I see a lot of similarities with Japan during the 80s.
Yeah.
I was young around that time, but people were saying, oh my gosh, Japan's going to take over the world someday, right? And I hear similar things about China right now, and obviously we know what happened in Japan after the bubble burst. But is there any way in your mind to quantify how much of the Chinese economy is phony? You know, how much of it is built on the foundation of sand as opposed to bricks? Because I mean, obviously they're much more prosperous compared to when they're under Mao's rule, right? But if the economy were to collapse, like how much of the economy would disappear?
Well, I don't want to give a number, but to myself, don't take my word, don't quote me. To myself, I think majority of Chinese business was economy was on the built on the sand.
So more than 50% of them.
It's yeah, and for example, the speed rail. Everybody marveled Chinese speed rail and so convenience and everything. I have a friend who worked for the department. She said every year Chinese government subsidize more than 50% of the cost of the running these high-speed trains. And if you have been to Shanghai from the airport to part of the city, there's a magnetic train, very high speed from the German technology. It drains so much money from the government. Many times they want to close it, shut it down, but it's not saving face because they brag about it. They have the fastest magnetic train. And my friend works in there. And she said, "Oh my gosh, you don't know how much money they're draining. Now it's becoming sightseeing things. You have to pay a lot of money to buy the ticket to take that train, but still doesn't cover even a fraction of running it. So, yeah, and the people who visit China, outsiders, they don't see that, they don't know that. They say, oh, so convenient and so build it so fast. Why they build it fast? Because they don't have a rule of law, they don't have private property rights. So they say, okay, I want to build a road from here to there. Okay, Schoolland's house, too bad. we just knock it down. You have nothing to say. And so that's how they build it fast. Because there's no property rights, no property ownership, no property rights, no rule of law. And this one professor, I think he's, I forgot which university he works at, Wang Ning, he co-authored a book with Ronald Coase. You heard about Ronald Coase, right? And about China Miracle. About China Miracle, we have the same interpretation, there's no miracle, but he said Chinese style is better. You can build faster because you don't need to care about any property rights and any personal. So that's the better way to do it. I was so surprised. I got so shocked when just recently he gave a talk to a group. I'm part of it in Sri Lanka over Zoom, and I heard that. I said, "Oh no!" You know.
They know what's best for the people.
Mm-hmm. And they built so many roads going nowhere. Of course, strategically, they built a road to Tibet because they want to undermine Tibetan religion and everything, mix all kind of people into it. They just shovel people into Tibet for their political agenda. Some are very political when they build a road. And now they have spent a lot of money building these concentration camps in Xinjiang.
Why did the U.S. copy China in handling COVID? I hadn't heard before that Americans were interested in imitating China.
I don't know why. And because China had it to begin with. And so they started lockdown and wear masks. So then I remember China started from 2019, the end of 2019. I remember I was in Switzerland 2020 in January or February, and I was watching, at Davos, all these world leaders all in Davos. I was there, and everybody came on TV said, "Oh, China has this terrible, virus. We have to do something to help China. We'll send the medical team." China said, "We don't need your help. Don't come." And that time, the world thought it's only in China. Then we came back in March. Oh no, everywhere, And then they say, "Oh, we don't know what to do, but China did it this way." So they did exactly lockdown, wear mask.
If you could go back to when you were a kid in China, what would you tell yourself, based on advice or kind of what to look for? Would you give yourself advice if you were younger? If you could go back and give some wisdom, is there anything you'd say to your younger self?
Well, that's a very interesting question. Yes, I thought a lot about it because we had zero control of our lives.
Right.
The government would say, live in this house, move there. My grandma's house, they say, "Oh, 2 people, you have too many rooms, you have 2 bedrooms, too many." They move a whole family into their spare bedroom. That's kind of life we had, right? What to eat, what to wear. So I didn't know there's a tomorrow, a different tomorrow. I was too young, then I didn't know any other way of life because I've never seen it and never heard it. But for some reason, I just don't believe it's going to be like this forever. I thank God for implanting these thoughts in my head. And our family are all educated, many generations ahead. So that's why our family was labeled black. I was born in a black family. They have a red family and black family. Black family are all punished, really punished. Segregation, talk about it. We have 2 different entrances to train stations or whatever. So my mother told me, just don't go to school, and your school are closed, and the libraries all sealed, and reading books are forbidden, only Mao's books and Lenin and Stalin's books. And we will, as teenagers or kids, our dear thing is to break the window of the sealed library and steal books. And then we pass around secretly and read it under the cover with a flashlight. I read a lot of books that way. And my mom said, stop it, you know, there's no school, and you don't read. If you are illiterate, your faith will change. Look at all us, educated, being punished. All the people who are illiterate now in power and ruling us. So maybe you should change your faith by not learning anything. And I said, no. I said, they can take things belong to me, tangible things, but they can never take things inside of me. I don't know why I had that kind of determination. I said, I don't care about outside. They came to our house, took our clothes, our everything. They just raided our house and took away things by truckload. Now, I mean, not truck, there's a little
Handcart. Handcart.
yeah, hand cart. My mom was coming home, and they saw somebody was holding this cart, and they were chanting. And, looks like my things.
Oh, no.
She didn't dare to say. They were just taking away. So, and then I told myself, I didn't announce it. I told myself, I will die a rich person inside. I don't care. I don't have anything. I will die a rich person inside. And one book impacted me the most was Count of Monte Cristo. And that's one stolen book. We got it from the library. You know, to the point when we steal the book, we pass it around, and if we like it, we hand copy it word to word into a book. And so then we pass we call hand copy the books. If you have read the book called Balzac and the Little Seamstress, Balzac is the French author, and this guy, he didn't even have paper. We didn't have paper, so he had a lampshade coat. Inside is flat, so he copied the entire book into the inside of his coat. So when he out herding the goats, he can read. That's how we did it. We're so hungry. So I read this Monte Cristo. He was in the dungeons, in the island, no hope. He was learning as crazy. And then when he got out, he didn't know he would get out, but he's still learning. And when he got out, he used all his knowledge to revenge. I didn't think I would revenge. I wanted to revenge the communists. I wanted. But at least I thought, one day I'm going to use it. One day I'm going to use all my knowledge. You know, I was very good with chemistry and physics and math. Now I forgot everything because I didn't use it. But at that time, I was trying to get as much as possible. I was just going crazy learning, and my parents were not happy with me. And but I was just determined. I thank God for that. I think God just
You
planned
had
that.
faith and you were rewarded for that.
Yeah. No, because when I was born in 1958. China still had a church that time, but it's already kind of illegal. So my mom took me to get baptized after dark from the back door of the church. And a year later, my brother was born, and no more churches, and the Christians either in prison or run away. So I thank my mom to give me to God, so he was watching me. Even I didn't know him. My parents never told me about it. I did not know until I was 26 years old. I came to the United States as a graduate student, and my father told me, you're baptized a Christian. I said, what does it mean? I have no idea what they're talking about. He said, I hard to explain, just go to church. I said, okay. And I did not speak any English when I came. I just went to church for 5 years without understanding a thing, but I just went.
That's awesome.
So, yeah.
Yeah, but it was something in your heart, though.
I
You
think
said
I don't know
your
him,
heart
he knew
was
me.
rich.
That's what I
Exactly.
think.
Your heart was rich with
So
good things.
a lot of my family members commit suicide because they couldn't take it, they didn't understand. I counted, we have a big family. I counted 11 people in my family commit suicide. One mother, one son in one family commit suicide at different times. And a lot of people still traumatized, crazy. We have an uncle from Beijing came to visit us. He was so terrified. Your house have no wall. I'm so worried. Your house have no wall. So when we went to work, I came back after dark. The light was not on. He was sitting at a little stool below the window, sitting there, waiting for us. He didn't dare to turn on the light. He was so terrified because the damage during the Cultural Revolution. It's still like this. Many people, there's one way or the other, they're crippled by these events. That's why nobody's talking about it. When you ask Chinese student, their parents, their grandparents, no, your student will be their grandparents my age. They don't know. They never heard it because nobody's talking about it. Because the people who persecute us, they're still in power. And so they don't dare to talk about it, or it's too painful to talk about it. My brother never told his daughter. And my parents don't talk about it. I talk about it because I want the world to know how evil communism is. But I'm a very few people. Very, very few. Almost nobody's talking about it. They're still afraid, unfortunately.
I've had a couple of Chinese tell me that the Chinese are freer than Americans. What do you think they mean by that?
Oh, yes, because there's no rule of law. You can do whatever and then argue, or, for example, if I let Steve stay at my house because he doesn't have a place to stay, and he stayed for a year, and then he said, then I said, please move because I need that room. He said, no, I don't want to go because I lived here for a year. This is mine now. We go to court. The court will say, well, if he leaves, he has no place to stay. So he's entitled to live in your house. That's the freedom Chinese people call it freedom. You can pay your way. You run the red light. If police stop you, you pay your way. Nothing, right? So you're free. So a lot of freedom.
There's no accountability.
No rule of law, no accountability, because whoever is in power can say, okay, you're guilty or you're not guilty. Depends. It's all depends. Did you hear about this recent case about this girl was kidnapped and chained with a metal chain with a lock on her neck, and she was raped and gave birth to 8 children under that kind of circumstances. And then the husband was bragging he became an influencer on the internet because he's bragging. And then people outraged and went to the authority, police. The police said, we don't see any evidence of kidnapping. No, she has a mental illness, so we should chain. The husband can chain her. And then it became so outraged, and people watching Olympic was I don't know, 300 million people, but 3,000 million people react to this. They call her the mother of 8 children. And finally, the government said, took the husband and the 2 relatives and detained them just 2 days ago, saying that's the first time Chinese people say the grassroots win.
Wow.
That's a good sign. The first time the grassroots win, people outraged.
Wow. Wow.
Yep. So free. That's a different definition of freedom.
I suspected that was what it was, but wasn't sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Go for dessert.
The dessert is over
There's
here.
a lot of dessert.
I love it.